Sorcerers! Josh here. You all knew this video was coming. So after the Star City Games Convention announcement that Eric Curiosa made this past Friday, a number of cards were immediately targeted and bought out. The good news is all of those cards, from what I can see, are foils, which means that it has not impacted non-foil cards. That's good. Foils are what I consider to be the more collectible side. That is for collectors. So when people engage in those types of things with foil cards, it bothers me less than with a non-foil card. So what cards did they pick up? Well, one, which was pretty likely, and many individuals, myself included, in the community kind of wondered about foil rings. There were a number of foil rings up on TCG Player for $330 to $370. And given how difficult it is to pull any given foil unique, that seemed kind of low, especially given that Arthurian Legends is not being opened in great supply. The box opening experience is so very difficult. So seeing that many of those copies, so many copies of the ring in foil on TCG Player at that price, many people, including myself, thought, wow, maybe that's just where it seems low. And all of those, I think there were 7 copies, have now been purchased. They are gone. As of the filming of this video, there are no foil rings available on TCG Player. Given, if any of you took the time to watch my Arthurian Legends openings, it took me 20 boxes to get a ring. A non-foil ring. So when I look at the foil ring, I think, how many boxes you got to open to get a foil ring? 200? I don't know. I don't really have no idea how many boxes on average you would need to open to see a foil ring, especially if you have my luck. So seeing all those bought out, it is not surprising to me. When it gets posted again, my big question is, what's the price point? Because we already saw the weirdness with Warmelo Tump, and the only foil copies of that available on TCG Player are still sitting at $500, which is absolutely insane. And nobody should pay that price for Warmelo Tump. It may be very good come Gothic, but it is not a $500 foil. It's just not. And, well, it shouldn't be. I can't think of a reason that it would be, because even if, protecting your cemetery becomes very, very important in Gothic, I have to think there are going to be other cards in Gothic that can potentially do that. So Warmelo may not be the card to do that, the only card available. So $500 for a foil copy is insane. But the Philosopher's Stone in beta, in foil, is sitting at $950. And it is not used in every competitive deck. Whereas generally speaking, most folks on the competitive side of the community, ring is a no-brainer and is in every competitive deck. That's just how it is, which is my biggest problem with the card, is that every deck is basically, you should include it, and our spell books are 49 cards instead of 50 because you're including the ring. So where is the foil ring going to be posted at? Is it going to be posted at 1,000? Is it going to be posted at 500? What is the price point that someone is going to throw out randomly? And it is totally random. And say, okay, I'm going to see if I can get $1,000 for my foil ring. And here's the thing. For those of you who are like, don't like that, you really upsets you, I can understand that. But on the other hand, this is just how things work. And if I have something, look, I got lots of things that I have no intent to ever sell. But there is the right price for anything that I own. Probably, right? I mean, now that may be ludicrous. For example, let's say someone tomorrow says, oh, I want to buy one of your sorcery paintings. Okay, no, I'm not selling those. Well, what about $25,000? Oh, well, which one? Right? I mean, that's the type of thing. And so at any point, in my personal opinion, if someone has something, whatever it is, and they're like, I have this, but I'm okay with letting it go if someone would pay me this ridiculously silly price of $1,000 for my foil ring. Yeah, I'll let that go for $1,000. And they throw it up on TCG Player. There's nothing wrong with that, in my opinion. Good for you. You get $1,000 for a card that you pulled out of hopefully you only paid $90 for that box. So I'm okay with that. That doesn't upset me or bother me. And there's nothing wrong with throwing out an asking price. And if everyone says you're insane, well, I was happy to keep it anyhow. So that was just the price I'd let it go at. But for me, I think whoever decides to throw up a foil ring, I think it's going to be in that $750 to $1,000 range. And even though the stone is iconic for sorcery, it is not played as much as the ring. The ring is the most playable card in sorcery. Period. There is nothing else like it at all. You might be able to say that with the cores, but the problem with the cores are you're only using the cores. So I suppose if you include the cores but even then, a lot of aggro decks don't include cores necessarily. So the ring really has this top billing of the card that you include because it doesn't make sense not to. It's just that good, and it can go in any deck. So the idea that someone posts a foil ring at $1,000 and someone pays that, I wouldn't be shocked. So I'm very interested to see what that is going to show up on TCG Player at. I want to know where someone thinks they're going to go. And just because they posted at whatever this price may be, it doesn't mean it's going to sell. We've seen this time and time again with the buyouts that have occurred in sorcery. Something gets bought up to some level and nobody buys at whatever the new, whether it's because of the buys, they stop at some point, whatever that point is, or they buy everything and then someone reposts at a ridiculous price. And then that card just sits and it doesn't move at all. That's probably what's going to happen with the ring. Someone's going to post at some ridiculous price. Maybe not ridiculous. Maybe I shouldn't use that word. Someone's going to post it at some price. Let's say $1,000. They post it for $1,000, and we'll see how long it sits. And, with the Star City Games convention announcement, if we get a surprise of we're announcing Gothic at Gen Con, and here's the release date, $1,000 ring may move. But that's enough about the ring. So the ring was bought out. That's where it is. Another card that was bought out in Arthurian Legends. Yet again, people going after the amulet. So the amulet of Ninian bought up to a price of $225. I still think it's very interesting that people continue to target this card. Its effect does seem really good, but We've just not seen that translate into play at a level where people are like, you should include an amulet. So it's very interesting to me that people continue to try to bring the amulet up into a piece that is at a higher price point. Even though, again, pulling any foil unique in Arthurian Legends is a difficult task. But it's moved up to $225 again. So there's that. Now, the other card is not in Arthurian Legends. And I find it odd, and this has happened with this card a couple of times. Atlantean Fate in beta. Foil. Again, all foils. These are all foils. That's all we're talking about. Foil copies of these cards. Foiled Atlantean Fate. Bought out. Yet again. There are none posted as of the filming of this video on TCG Player. No copies available. It was bought out up to $75, $80, somewhere in there. This one, to me, Atlantean Fate is a great card. It really is. It's one of the best water cards in the game. But water has really not broken through at the top levels of competitive play. So you just don't see Atlantean Fate all that often, even though it's an extremely good card. So to me, the individuals that continue to target Atlantean Fate are betting heavy on water becoming a big player and becoming more level with the other elements. You know, I think that water may really come into its own with Gothic. I think that with Alpha and Beta, there were some, we want to make this cool flooding effect work with water, and it just didn't really hash out the way they wanted it to, the way Eric Curiosa wanted it to. And then in Arthurian Legends, we got some really powerful water cards. Lugbog Cat, Coin Nixie, Led Astray. And then it's like, oh, there's some neat concepts here that they can work with. And if they have continued to build that into Gothic, that's why I think water is going to hopefully shine. And it doesn't have to be the top deck, but I want a water deck, a deck with a lot of water to be highly competitive. Now, there was the Island Leviathan deck that was run in the TTS League, performed very well. I took the whole league. Was that 6 or 5? I don't remember which league it was. It was one of the TTS leagues. That Island Leviathan deck took the whole thing. Very, very cool that actually won out. That was post-Arthurian Legends. Yes, that was post-Arthurian Legends. But I'm just hoping to see water. I would love to see the top tier deck being heavy water. That's what I would like to see. I just feel like water needs its moment after we've been doing sorcery for, I really don't feel like water at any point has been like, oh, this is the dominating deck. It's just not happened. Air, fire, earth, they've all had a moment, and I just don't think water has. And I want to see it. So I'm hoping that's Gothic. And so I think that's what these folks that are buying out foiled Atlantean Fates are hoping. Hey, if water comes into its own, everyone's going to play Atlantean Fate. You just include it, which oddly enough, I don't include it in my snag deck because it's 5 mana and I have a very hard curve set of 4. I don't want anything above 4. I've looked at maybe putting in Atlantean Fate as my single card at 5, but I tried a very, very hard curve of 4. That's the top 4. I don't go any higher in that snag deck. Maybe I'll try Atlantean Fate. We'll see. But I think that's what's happening with that card. Again, the question becomes, it's out of stock right now. What price point is it going to come back at? I think this one is going to be much more modest. $100, maybe $150. That's the price point that I think someone's going to throw it up at. It's probably going to be, well, I mean, if you do get that person who's like, well, I'll take $250, they may be the first to throw it up, but that price I just don't think would hold at all. Whereas $1,000 for the ring, I could see that holding. So, or maybe 800, right? Like a much smaller come down. And obviously jumping from, what was it, 330 to 1,000, or even 330 to 800, that's a very significant jump. That's not going to happen with Atlantean Fate. Yeah, it could. 100, I don't think that's even a problem. If it's posted at 100, I definitely think it could get to that point and hold 100 fairly easily. Getting to 150, I think, and holding 150 is a much bigger stretch. And that, I think, would require Gothic really doing something with water. So that's it. Those are the 3 cards that were really bought out that I could find. It's not to say that there aren't others. I try to look through ordinaries, exceptionals. I try to hit them all. Primarily looking at foils. It seems like the folks that engage in these types of buyouts are really starting to move more towards foils, rather than, in the past we've seen the buyout of non-foil rings that brought us up to that $100 price point. I think they're just at 90 now, maybe even 85, but brought us up to that much higher price point for the ring. But typically we are just not seeing non-foil buyouts. That's really not happening much anymore. It's all been foils. And again, when it comes to foil buyouts, I'm like, hey, you don't need foils to play this game. So have at it. I want collectors. I want, even the people who, are investors and speculators. I want them to be involved, but I also want players to have access to cards. And that is, I get it. That's, some of you may think I'm nuts. Like, you can't have both. No, I think there is a way, but it's not easy. It isn't easy. That is not an easy balance to pull off, especially since everyone's tolerance for price is very different. I've seen a lot of people get upset. They're like, the ring at $100 is just crazy. And I'm like, is it? I mean, you only have to have 1 copy. And if you're playing other games, they require you to have 4 copies of this $25 card. Well, that's $100. So I guess it's just that mind barrier of it's $100 for a sheet of cardboard versus it's $25 for a sheet of cardboard. Oh, but I have to buy 4. And people just aren't, processing that all the way through. So to me, $100 for a single unique card that I need 1 copy of, that I'm okay with that. I'm okay with that price point for a non-foil card. I know many folks aren't. That's perfectly fine. We do not have to agree on that. But that's also why it's very hard to placate the players, the collectors, the investor types. It's very hard to placate all of them. It's a lot of work. But for me, as far as I'm concerned, foils are not for players. If you're out there and you want to foil a whole deck, go ahead. I hope you do. If but you got to know you're moving into the realm of this is where the collectors are at. They like these cards. They like those full art backs. So you're going to be spending more money. And you just have to accept that. But moving beyond these 3 cards, there's also something else I noticed. And again, I've not really been doing a lot of market type stuff lately. I did the recent video, but I really had not. I'd been kind of moving away from it, trying to do some other things. And I was like, well, let's revisit it. And sure enough, while I was looking around, I was looking at Alpha Supply. It's getting real thin. TCG player is pretty barren overall, at least in terms of foils, right? This is in terms of alpha foils. It is getting very difficult to come by alpha foils. Even some of the ordinaries are completely sold out on TCG player. Not many of the ordinaries are completely sold out on TCG player. I think nearly every site, every basic ordinary site is sold out. I think, what was it? Was it the Red Desert is $100 on TCG player. Now, granted, if you go into the Discord marketplace, you're going to be able to get those cards much cheaper. But the deals are done. The supply of alpha is getting thin. And I even know that 3 foil alpha courtesans just sold for $2,500 each. Big money. That's big money. $2,500 for a foil alpha courtesan. I will say, of all the foils in alpha, I think the Frazettas are where the long-term, collectability is. We are not, it's very unlikely we are ever going to see those cards with that art ever again. Highly, highly unlikely. So that's where I think it's at. So to see and hear that 3 of those cards went for $2,500, I'm not necessarily surprised, but I think it does show this big announcement about an SCG con. It's got people excited again, and they're willing to drop big bucks to get those cards before they become a price that they may consider unattainable. So not only have we got that, and then there's this other little thing about alpha. Box prices. I do watch alpha box prices, and in the marketplace, just moving up. Little bumps. Not anything major. Not it's not like they're jumping $200 or $300, but it's these little bits, $25, $25, up. Right now on TCG Player, which is not the price where, this is not the place where you would probably want to buy an alpha box. You should probably go to the Discord marketplace to get a better price. They're at $1,000. That's the low point. So on the market, right, there were 800, but I'm not sure you're going to be able to get alpha boxes, individual boxes, for less than $850. And once Gen Con happens, and if that Gothic announcement happens at Gen Con, I really think $1,000 alpha boxes are back. They're going to be back by the end of the year. $1,000 alpha boxes. If you're going to have Gen Con hype, hopefully all the new players we get from Gen Con, Star City Games hype, all the players we get from Star City Games, Gothic announcement, all the players who finally realize this game exists and are like, this Gothic set looks awesome. I'm going to play this game. All those new players are going to drive it. And you guys say, well, they're players. Yes, they're players. But some players will spend a little bit of money. They may be like, you know what? It'd be really cool to have a set of foil Vile Imps from Alpha. Now, is that going to be a whole bunch of people? No. But just 1 or 2 of those people, when you're talking about the very limited supply of Alpha, can really change things. So I really think by the end of the year, I could see $1,000 Alpha boxes again. It just seems like we are really in the snowball now. We are gathering speed and hopefully gathering people in our snowball and new players. And, hopefully we can get those collector folks back who left, or bring in new collector folks, one or the other, and really get things moving again. I think this end of the year, we are really going to see some serious growth in the sorcery community, and I'm hopeful that it's all types. Because you know what I want? I want us all here. That's what I want. I want players, collectors, investors. I want us all. And I know it's hard to balance that, and I know that there are divisions in the community over what each of those groups want. But I think with a lot of work, a lot of consideration and thought, a balance can be found. And everyone can get pretty close to what they want. And that's really what this is. This is compromise. If you're a player and you want cheap cards, then an Alpha Foil Philosopher's Stone is out of your reach. And that's the compromise you have to make as a player so that we have collectors, because collectors want that alpha, and investors want that alpha foil Philosopher's Stone to have considerable value. But as long as you can get your Philosopher's Stone as a player for, and again, I think $100 is fine. I know many people think that's too high, but for me, $100 for a non-foil Philosopher's Stone is a reasonable price. So find that balance and get us all in here, and we go again. Sorcery early on, those alpha days, it was not player friendly. Totally agree. I mean, when you're talking $800 boxes, $900 boxes, before we had beta, you could not get players. That was not what was happening. Now we've got beta, we've got players, and many folks feel that we've swung too far the player side. And so, and again, right, it's the balance. Swing back and forth and try to, bring it all in so that we can have everyone in the community. The more people we have, the better it will be for the longevity of sorcery. And all of us want that. So, yeah, that's it for today. As always, keep on contesting the realm!